So once you've got your vehicle, 3 points of contact.
Yeah.
One hand, climb up like a ladder.
Yeah.
Pull themselves up, put their foot inside, keep holding that handle, hop inside. We're actually inside the vehicle, we're good to go.
Yeah.
So always make sure they get in and they get out correctly. You get some people jump out like this, holding on to water bottles and phones and things. Always make sure your body's pointing in and holding the handles. That way if my foot slips, I've still got 2 points of contact at least.
Yeah.
So 3 is good. Once we're in the vehicle, shut the door. Make sure the light goes off on the dash, the door's shut.
Yeah.
Next we go D for door, S for seat. There's a lever here to move the seat forward and back. That is too close.
Yeah.
I'm crunched up. So you're watching me constantly to see how I'm setting myself up. Back here, I've got knee space.
Yeah.
That's as far back as the seat goes. Next, I look at the tilt on the seat. If I sit up too straight, and I'm leaning forward and they'll start to slump in the shoulders and they'll get tired and their eyes will drop. So we don't want it too straight, because some people say the seat should be 90 degrees. That's not correct. We want to have it in the natural arch of your back. We want to be sitting up so we get maximum vision, long range. In a heavy vehicle, we want to see over all the cars. We also want to have visibility through the front windscreen, through the windows, and also through our mirrors as well.
Yeah.
So with the seat positioning, make sure that it's supportive of your back. I think probably about there. I'm sitting up, I'm comfortable. Most heavy vehicle drivers will drive for long periods of time, so comfort in the seat's very important. Also, I've got 2 dials on the side here. I've got one that tilts up and down the front, and one that tilts up and down the back, so they can turn those dials to get comfortable in that position.
Yeah.
So with the seat, I always do the 3 adjustments: forward and back, up and down, and then the tilt. In relation to that, we also have a lever here in the steering column, which is here, and I pull that lever out to loosen it, and now the steering wheel is free. It's telescopic, it goes in and out and up and down. I position that and then I lock in the lever, and then what I also do is I want to be able to see through to see all of my gauges. So I can see my speedo, I can see my tacho, I can see my fuel gauge, etc. Okay. Next, what I do is we've done the door, the seat, the steering wheel. We then go to seatbelt. I make sure that the seatbelt does its job. So it's got to be flat, not twisted. It's got to be low across my hips, across my shoulders, and then I need to listen for it to click when I put it into the seatbelt. So it's into the little slot there. So that's received in across the shoulder. Okay, door, seat, steering wheel, seatbelt, M for mirrors. Next, with my mirror setup, I've got a number of mirrors. This rectangular mirror here, I like to see a little bit of the white frame that goes down so I can see behind me, but also see down to the right. And this blind spot mirror here is curved. So this is good because I can see down below a lot more about what's happening. So I position my 2 mirrors. Same on your side over there. I've got my rectangular mirror, so I can see down the side of the vehicle. I've got that bottom left mirror which is curved so I can see down below, and then I've got the top one as well which gives me further back vision. So that left side is very important to watch because there's a lot of blind side over there.
This one?
Yeah, that's the blind spot mirrors are good because they give you the view out. So if someone's coming from the side, you can see them. The rectangular mirrors don't give you a great scope of vision. So I'm repeating those key things because you want to build order and structure into what you do. Door, seat, steering wheel, seatbelt, mirrors. Okay, once we've done that, we're already on the mirror control. Already on the mirror.
Seats, steering wheels, seatbelt, and mirrors.
Yeah, that's it. Then we go. We're already talking about mirrors, so we start over here, and we've got on a lot of vehicles you have electronic mirror control, so the student will already be over here, and what we have is window up and down, your side and my side. Then what we've got is a window lock, and then we've got door lock. What we've also got over here is the owner of the vehicle has put the height of the vehicle is 3.3 meters. So I've got that locked into my mind, so when I go driving over at places like Rockley and those places where they've got that really low bridge that everyone gets caught under, I've got that in my mind as well. Okay, so we've covered those controls. Then I work across. I come to the steering wheel and I've got the horn. This is the location of the horn, and the purpose of that is for safety. So that has to be working. If that's not working on a driving test, the examiner won't take them out.
Yeah.
So it's quite common that an examiner will say to the student, sound the horn before the test.
Yeah.
Okay, once we've covered the horn, we've then got the 2 stalks on each side. I'll do the right one first. So we've got park lights is 1 click forward, headlights is the 2nd click forward, down to the floor for high beam.
Yeah.
So we've got those. The examiner will test those.
Yeah.
Then we've got over this side washers, which is the button on the end,
Yeah.
and wipers by turning this dial here. That will also be tested. Then we've got off, intermittent, which is a little break between each wipe,
Yeah.
because you know when it just starts to rain, there's not a lot of rain.
Yeah.
So it's like pause. You can in a lot of vehicles, like cars,
Yeah.
adjust how long that pause is on the intermittent. Then we've got low, and then we've got high, which is
Yeah.
for when it's summer and you have a big storm. Okay, then we've got the exhaust brake, which we have on and off, which is forward and back. And
What is that?
the exhaust brake, which will assist the vehicle to slow down.
Okay.
That will only operate when my foot is off the accelerator and my foot's off the clutch.
Okay.
I demonstrate that one to students when we're driving, because while we're stationary, I can't operate it.
Yeah.
Whereas I can do washers and wipers while I'm stationary. I go out onto the road, I engage the exhaust brake, and then I demonstrate the use of it out there, because we see the symbol up on the dash as well.
Yeah.
You can hear the exhaust brake operating, and the student can feel it. So I normally just show the location of it, but then I show the functioning once we get out onto the road, because I can demonstrate its use.
Okay.
Okay, then once we've done that, we go through the steering wheel onto the dash, and I go through the dash controls. So we've got 2 air gauges here, and as I said, the brakes are controlled by air.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure that there's air pressure in the vehicle. If it's a vehicle with a little bit of a slow leak, you'll notice that when you start the vehicle up, that it'll actually make a beeping noise, and you won't be able to drive it because it's a safety measure. Then we go to our speedo, which is really important.
Yeah.
Speeding is one of the top 5 ways that students fail driving tests.
Yeah.
You have to make sure they really keep checking their speedo.
Yeah.
Secondly, you have to make sure that they keep checking speed signs, because when they're checking speed signs, it means that they're observing and scanning the road up ahead.
Yeah.
When people get nervous and anxious, sometimes they are looking straight ahead, but they're losing the use of their peripheral vision.
Yeah.
We want to make sure when we're driving a heavy vehicle, we've got the eyes on the move, and also that we're looking out of the corner of our eye as well, if we spot things. Okay, next we've got our tachometer. That's helpful because we want to drive the vehicle in the appropriate rev range. We don't want to be revving the vehicle out too much. It uses more fuel, and it works the engine harder and creates more wear and tear on the engine. Then we've got our fuel gauge, so we do a visual to make sure we've got fuel. And then down here we've got a temperature gauge as well, so we'll monitor the temperature of the vehicle. We also make sure, and I'm just going to click the key to one click forward, and then the 2nd click forward, and we start to see some of the warning lights come on in the startup of the vehicle. So the oil lights come on, the park brake light is on, the battery light, and also the engine light is on. So when I actually, I don't need to rev the engine up. I'm in neutrals because I can tell, because the gear stick's going side to side. When I kick this over, those lights should go out. We'll just pause on that for a moment and continue over to the left. We've got the radio controls.
Yeah.
I don't put the radio on during training, so I say, look, you can worry about that once you've got your license.
Yeah.
They do need to know the controls here on the air conditioning. So we've got little diagrams showing where the air blows: face and feet, face, feet only, demister and feet, and demister.
Yeah.
The student needs to know demister in the driving test and be able to show the examiner where that is.
Yeah.
Then here we've got air conditioning on and off. Then we've got fan speed. For really hot days, you'd have a higher fan speed.
Yeah.
Then we've got recirculated air. If for example, we're following a cattle truck or something, and we don't like the smell, if it's a really dusty day, or there's a bushfire somewhere and there's a lot of particulates in the air, and someone's an asthmatic or something, you might want to go with that recirculated in the cab.
Yeah.
We've got blue is cool, red is warm. So this is your temperature control on your air conditioner.
Yeah.
Here we've got the cigarette lighter, which people might want to use to charge their phone up. Then from there we work back to here. We've got our pedals, our gears, and our park brake. I do all these together.
Okay.
So we've got an accelerator over here on the right. The two words that the examiner the two things the examiners want to see is that your student is accelerating smoothly and progressively. And progressively means just nice, gentle application of the accelerator, not flooring it or anything like that. And you know, where we're getting a rough ride, we want them to chauffeur drive. Or if they've got passengers on, they might be transporting, you know, horses or something like that. Smooth ride. Okay, next we've got the brake, and as we said, the brake is very touchy. They're quite close together, so just make sure that the student they put their heel on the floor and they pivot their foot and they work that with the ball of their feet about 3/4 on way up on the pedal. Then the next one over here is the clutch. The clutch is quite heavy in this vehicle, so sometimes you get some people who get a tired left leg from working that heavy clutch. And then we've got the footrest over here. Once they've used the clutch to change gears, they should bring their foot completely off the clutch and over onto the footrest. They can't drive around like this, you know, through the streets. It's got to be over here, foot off the clutch. Okay. Next question. Next thing we cover is our park brake is here. So we've got a foot brake and we've got a park brake. And I just say to the students, make sure that the vehicle's completely stopped. You're not moving when you apply the park brake. Okay. And it's different using a park brake in this vehicle because it's all operating on air. With this one, we lift that little safety latch up and go down to the floor. That's off. And lift it up and that's on. Okay, next we go to the gear stick. We've got 6 gears plus reverse. There's no split gears or anything like that. We don't have any weight on the back at the moment, so we'll take off in second gear every time. So when we're finding the gears, it's really important that the student knows with this side-to-side movement that the gear stick sits between gear 4 and 5. So if I put my foot on the clutch and just push forward, it goes straight into 4th gear. Or if I just push back, so there's 4 and 5, it's just that back and forward movement. So if I want to take off in second, I need to go across one position and feel where it hits that wall and then push in. If I don't keep the pressure on from 2 to 3, then it will jump straight, because of the spring, it'll jump straight from 2 to 5. So make sure your student is actually keeping control of the stick with their hand so that they're working it, knowing that it will self-center back between 4 and 5. So you
What is the other one on the side?
6.
Oh, 6.
6, yeah. Now for reverse, we go to where it hits that wall between 2 and 3 and push a little bit harder. There's a spring there, you can see me pushing against the spring, and there's reverse. And there's the reversing buzzer. So when I'm finding second gear, I say to people, feel it, and then forward into second. Or if I want to go to reverse, through, and then reverse. So take your time. Now some students, once they've done their reversing exercise, they pull it out of reverse, and then they do that and they take off in 4. So what they need to do is, once you've come out of reverse, it'll center back to this 4-5 position, across, and there's second. Now 1 is a really slow gear. 1 would be used if we had weight on the back. We would use the lower gear to help get the vehicle moving. We will do all of our takeoffs in second: uphill, downhill, flat surface. Any questions?
No, it's all good.
Okay, so that's everything we need to know from that point. Next we'll go into a driving demonstration.